movie nerds, and welcome back to Cinematic Sarcastic, podcast that talks all things movies and television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. On this episode, we are going to talk about Moana 2. I know everybody probably assumed that it would be Wicked, but I will be completely honest, and this is not going to be a very popular opinion, and I know that. I was not a child who enjoyed The Wizard of Oz growing up, so I have gone to see the Broadway play of Wicked, and I did not like it. If you don't like The Wizard of Oz, you tend not to like Wizard of Oz related things. So I do not plan to go see Wicked, and I went instead to see Moana 2. However, in hindsight, I maybe should have gone to see Wicked because that one at least seems to be faring better in theaters than I think Moana 2 is going to. So this is going to be a pretty quick and short review. I don't have too much to say about this movie in general. It was incredibly disappointing, to say the least. I know that a lot of you out there are about my same age. A lot of you are probably going to have little kids that want to go see this. And my advice would be, if you can somehow convince your children to wait for this to go on to streaming, definitely do. I have heard kind of through the grapevine that what Moana 2 is about was meant to be part of a like Disney series. And that to me makes a heck of a lot more sense than it does in movie form. In Moana 2, there really is nothing happening. And that is a strange thing to say because obviously she does go on a mission to like unite all of the different islands. And there is like a tiny little bit of conflict going on. And they have clearly set this up for either a TV series to follow or another film to follow. But in general, this one just did not have, and I very much enjoyed the first one, it did not have any of what the first one had, like any of that sort of magical spark. I think the only thing that Moana 2 really has going for it is incredible animation. Like, it is very stunning. I found myself kind of looking at things in the movie because the story was not particularly gripping that I maybe would not have noticed before, like how beautiful her hair was. Like the way that it moves, the way that they've animated that, the way that they've animated the water. She has a younger sister in this movie, and I kept just focusing on the fact that they gave her these adorable little buck teeth. Like, it is a very well done cartoon in terms of the production of it. But the story is incredibly lacking, I think, in the sequel. There was no real sort of conflict or anything really happening the way that it was in the first movie. Like, there is no story arc, if you will. It's just they're going out, they're doing a thing. Everything happens perfectly for them. There's no time really. And again, I'm not like a 5-year-old child, so I don't know how little kids would take it, but there was no real moment where you had any doubt that she was going to accomplish her goal, right? Like, everything just happened to fall into her lap quite easily in this film in a way that I don't feel like it did in the first one. And then you have all of these additional characters, which in the context of a television show, it would make a lot of sense to introduce these other parts of her village, these other characters that are going with her on missions, because you can draw that out quite a bit more in a TV series than you can in a film. But in this movie, they accomplish nothing. They are useless. They are there for zero purpose. And so it just sort of seemed like she should have been alone the whole time, or just her and Maui again in the second film. But there are all these additional characters that really just don't lend to the story in any way, shape, or form. In my opinion, Moana 2 should have been something that Disney sent straight to Disney streaming. I don't think that this ever should have gone to the theaters because of how disappointing it is. Like, this one would have been a straight to DVD release in any other time frame. But I think because it's around Christmas and of course around Thanksgiving, like, they knew that they could release it during the holidays. They knew that the kids were going to want to go because the first one was so good, like, it was so popular. And I think that they absolutely knew that this was going to be a cash grab. In terms of the story itself, I don't think it's worth it. I think it is something that you should just wait for streaming, especially with the cost cost of movie tickets. If you somehow can go for cheaper or for free, I would say go ahead and give it a rumble. But other than that, I would say Moana 2 is entirely skippable, or at least it's one to just be streamed at home. It's definitely not worth going to the theater for, in my opinion. So those are my thoughts on Moana 2. I would love to know what you guys thought if you took your families to see this. Subscribe to join the Movie Nerd family, and I hope to see you in the next episode.